I'm just going to say first that we're going to start the panel, and now you can.
Oh no, sorry.
No. So actually, if you and Steve and Susan would stay on, and then Jere, if you would come up here with me, because if somebody would have some questions for you as well. So since all of you now are kind of not here present, so there will be just me and Jere sitting up here, and then the rest of you. So I think there was a lot of questions, and I hope that could maybe Robin, could you take the mic and then kind of read up the questions, or maybe I can read the questions and somebody can throw the mic around. But now, Barbara, now you're welcome.
I just wanted to say, you were talking about learn more. One of my favorite things that really taught me so much, one was actually sitting next to you, Steve, when you went through and we formulated diets. I learned so much then, but not everybody gets to do that. Susan, you're also lucky with that. But the animal diet formulator is, to me, if you own that program and play with it and look at how diets change, it's so fun. It's like a video game, and it's a great way to learn. So obviously we've got the College of Integrative Veterinary Therapies. There's lots of courses there. But there are resources and ways that you can do this and at the same time be formulating diets and looking at it. So there's lots of ways now that you can learn really what's in. I mean, if you listen to Steve and Susan, the amount of information and education in there has gone into this program, because that's really what it's made out of. And it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating to look at. So if you're interested in nutrition, that's a really great way to just play around and learn about it. So not just because it's software that is, ours, but because I really feel like it's the best of the best. If you heard what they're talking about, such passion.
And Barb, if people go to the USDA website, and it's free, and look at 90% lean versus 60% lean beef, and look at chicken with the skin and chicken without skin, they're going to learn a lot from the free source, the USDA website. They'll know what's in food. It's going to be a little more work than going to the animal diet formulator or a similar program, but it's free.
You can see it right in there. Yeah. And it's obvious. And then the nice part is we've taken all of that data. We've got USDA data in the animal diet formula. So if you want to use that data and do it, then that's another way to do it. So that's also a relatively recent thing. We've added pretty much all the data from a lot of different places that are really available in the animal diet formulator. So nutritionists like that too. Yeah. Just start looking in places.
I think at least Robin had some questions. So
no, I have a question in the chat. Eleanor is asking one of you guys whether whether a chicken allergy exists. I have a question regarding how to talk to veterinarians and pet owners, how to deal with people who are afraid their dog will be allergic to chicken.
I guess that's probably for me, since I see that all the time. I don't know, unless anyone else does. But as a practitioner, I get a lot of my clients coming in saying that, yes, my dog's definitely allergic to chicken. I've proven it and whatever. I really believe that if they had like a free range chicken running around in their yard, their dog, it would be unlikely to be allergic to chicken. It's a carnivore. Carnivores being allergic to certain meats doesn't really make sense to me. I think there's something else going on. Usually it's either a biome problem, we're missing certain bacteria to digest properly, or there's some component of the way that that's formulated, maybe with the linoleic acid or other things that are causing more inflammation and a problem with the way that it's been formulated with chicken. But I usually find that most of those cases over time are not actually allergic to the chicken. The problem is you can't just go, oh, your dog's not allergic to chicken, and then have them eat it, because that would also be a mistake, because they'll probably show signs. So there's lots of other meat sources out there. So you don't have to push that button. So you can say, yeah, okay, you're allergic to chicken. Let's try other things for a while and get this dog healthy, maybe do some biome and things like that, and then see if you can get things very well formulated And then maybe at some point you might want to try chicken again, but it's a little bit complicated because it's very strange to me that we have so many animals saying, oh, they're allergic to a meat because that's what everybody says. And that's not what I find in practice. Over time, I get their GI tract healthy and they're not allergic to any of those meats, even if the testing said that they were.
And I would just add to that, as we just spoke about the linoleic acid levels in chicken, if that's the meat that's being fed continuously, we're going to get a really high amount of linoleic acid in the diet, that omega-6 fatty acid, which when in excess can be pro-inflammatory. So it's possible that some of the things that people are seeing when their dog eats chicken is a result of that inflammation from that skewed omega-6 level.
Yeah. And sometimes I also find that people are adding too many other oils and sort of confusing things around as well. So I've had animals that are eating eating food, but they're adding fish oil every single day. And fish oil every single day will make them inflamed. And then if they've got too much of the chicken, and then they've got that going, there's like this whole thing with fats. Again, learning about fats and trying to pay attention to what the animal is eating and getting is really the key, because it's the balance, it's the ratio. And I think that's probably, as we're saying, more important than the actual chicken itself.
Okay.
Thank you. Maybe Susan has a question.
Yes, I don't know if Steve is there, but if he is, hi, Steve. This is Susan Wynn. I wanted to go back to formulating balanced diets, and I agree with you that FEDIAF is best. And I just wanted to add some clarification. There are people who say it's best to use NRC, and you are correct. It's old. Some of it's outdated. And using NRC minimums is pretty dangerous. The NRC has a minimum and NRC has a recommended. And as nutritionists, we use the minimum only for animals that actually have like a copper accumulation problem or iodine for the hyperthyroid cats. We don't use minimums except for sick animals. But it's a little dicey even to use NRC, which doesn't build in digestibility factors. So AFCO and FEDIAF build in digestibility factors. And there's this impression, you hear people talk all the time about how raw diets are all highly digestible. They're not. If you have an owner who's using the whole animal, there are some poorly digestible proteins in there. I can tell you that commercial raw companies, in an effort to contain costs, are using some less digestible protein sources. And so the digestibility varies. And if you're using NRC minimums, you're putting that animal in danger. So yeah, stick with FEDIAF and AFCO.
Susan, thank you for the comment. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. The NRC we're using are the recommended amounts or recommended allowances, not the minimum. And when we formulate, what I do is I look at the minimum for all three, NRC, FEDIAF, and AVCO, and I make sure my formula meets all three.
Yep, that's the way nutritionists do it. Thank you.
Thank you for your great question.
All right. Yeah, well, we have a question in the audience. So while the talk box is thrown over to Connor, there's a couple of questions for Jere about how to gain more information about your product. So could you repeat and clarify when and how to start using this product? And the person asking in question doesn't use Telegram. So is it possible to use Platogram via some other messaging app? And then a follow-up question to Jere also, where can we get more information about this product? Is there a website or an online presentation like the one you gave?
Excellent questions. Yeah, we try to be super mysterious and not actually giving you an opportunity to test this or buy it. Yeah, so sorry for the mystery. We've been mainly focusing on getting users this way, so talking to people on the streets and campuses instead of doing a lot of social media or similar kind of activities. But yes, our company name is Code Anyway. Code Anyway. So you can go to our website and you can see two of our products, Free Speech and Platogram there. And right now, as I said, it's available on Telegram and Discord, and you will get a WhatsApp in upcoming weeks. Plus, there will be website platogram.ai very soon available, and there you can use the whole product basically without any of these messaging apps. So start with code anyway, and keep Googling Platogram, and at some point Google will allow you to go to that website.
Gotcha. Code anyway. So I'll also provide a link to the Zoom chat. And Connor, you have a question.
Yeah. Hiya, Barbara. It's Connor. And hello, Susan and Steve. I think he if he's there.
Hi, Connor.
How you doing, guys?
Sorry, I'm not there.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time.
Next time.
So regards Stephen and Susan, you guys have given more thought to the AFCO profile than kind of most people on the planet. Is there any thought to a new, more appropriate system for real food using, real nutrients and whatnot? Zinc oxide, natural zinc, you're well aware of the differences. Is there any dream of some optimums on the planet, and how would you even start going about building that?
Let's answer it quickly.
Yeah, Steve is
Yeah.
so excited about your
It's a
question.
big yes. We've been working on that with Dr. Karen Becker. Right now it's called, I think, optimal nutrient recommendations. And we're learning about that, but I agree completely with you. We need that. We need to put together a team of people who have knowledge and differences of opinions so we could develop a ONR standard, so to speak. So that's a great question. And I think I hope within a few years you see it, but we need the cooperation of a lot of disparate people who may disagree. And that's the key. We need everybody to help.
And to follow on, because we had this idea yesterday, thanks to DogRisk, there was a lady presenting yesterday, sorry, can't remember her name, talking about hair analysis. And what was her name? Sarah, thank you. And I thought, is this not, because blood analysis of dogs walking about, healthy dogs, complicated, expensive, you've got your ethical committee to go through. Would hair analysis provide you guys as a global, easier way to sample what raw-fed dogs are walking around with on a daily basis? Is there a simple solution that way?
I don't know that that's been standardized well enough for what we need at the moment. So I don't know.
What I've read about hair analysis by, let's say, the establishment science suggests that it may not be what we need. In that group of people we need to put together to develop the optimal nutrient profiles, we need people who do hair analysis. We need the data. It doesn't mean it's going to be the gold standard data, but we need the data. So yes, we want to include that. We want to include people that analyze the fecal matter. We need a great bunch of people to develop this.
And then it just needs to be standardized to a degree that we really understand that the data is actually that's coming out of it is correct and making sense. And I think that has a lot of potential for sure, hair and fecal, and being able to combine some of those things even to get a really great result, maybe the way that we end up going. But I agree, anybody that's interested in sort of joining up and doing this, we were hoping at some point in the animal diet formulator to have the ONR values in there. So
actually, if I can say, Connor, before you continue, I think that would be a great idea. And I think that one of those things that we should do with the raw food diets that we use, that we should do these very bad but standardized AFCO trials, because that is how you test the dry foods. And if we would just do as bad trials as they do, and just because, I mean, our dogs will actually survive 6 out of 8 or however many, and for 6 months eating superb food compared to the ones that they usually test. So I think that that would be a first step. Another thing that would be quite cool is that we were talking, we had Michael Bellingham and Greg yesterday talking about this kind of standardization of making raw food in the raw food industry. So getting a kind of that partner into this would be, I think, very beneficial for us as well. And Connor, you're welcome to continue. No?
Can I just ask something as well, Steve? I have the ADF program. I just wanted to check, is there anything on there where the USDA data is actually lacking or missing in your ingredients that you actually highlight that within the program? Because it seems to, if it's missing, it's just missing. Or when we're doing the end food analysis, sometimes we do find that it's totally off, for instance, for vitamin D3 or any of those other vitamins.
We're developing a way to show the user the nutrients that are not included in the USDA database. None of the USDA database includes chloride, iodine, which is obviously essential, taurine,
Choline.
choline. Yeah, half of them lack data for choline. Like you go USDA beef hearts, you have no choline data and no amino acid data. So we are trying to highlight that in the animal diet formula, because if you're formulating on an incomplete ingredient, you have incomplete formula. One of the things we tried to do is, and this was a large part of my effort, was I came up with what I call ADF typical ingredients. For instance, with beef hearts, I looked at, like I had to estimate the amino acids in beef hearts. USDA data didn't have it. They didn't have it for quite a few ingredients. And so if I recall correctly, I used lamb data and a lot of ratios. And so I estimated the choline and amino acids in beef hearts. And I want to quickly add that when you look at nutrients on the USDA database, look at the micronutrients as plus or minus 25%. So if it says 10 milligrams per kilogram or 10 milligrams per 100 grams, it could be 5 to 15. There's a variation, it's 25%, excuse me, a variation of nutrients in natural foods. And so the ADF shows a range of nutrients in your formula. And so what I'm trying to teach people is formulate to your standard AVCO, FEDIAF, whatever, plus 25%, which would guarantee that in most cases, you have the right amount of nutrients and you won't be deficient.
And I'll just add, in terms of the notation of ingredients in ADF, we are currently working on, as Steve mentioned, a system to make that clear to the user what data is included. And we have users that have different goals with the ingredients they want to use. We have some users who want to use only USDA data, even though it is deficient in many data points for a lot of ingredients. So we do recommend using the ADF typicals that Steve developed if you want the most complete data for those ingredients, but we are also providing at the same time the option and the availability of USDA only data to our users who wish to go that route, because we do have some who prefer that data even though it is incomplete.
And I want to add, I know kind of you've used mussels for manganese. In my opinion, from a lot of analysis, the data, USDA data for manganese and mussels, if I recall correctly, is 4 times too high. And if you look at all the analysis we've done, it's on the ADF, or I could send it to you, you'll probably agree that the amount of manganese in mussels, and especially the amount of zinc in canned oysters listed on the USDA database, is much too high. I'm sort of a data nerd, so I study these things.
And you're looking at data from other countries, from other places, from testing from a lot of different places. It's not like you're sort of making it up out of cold, nothing.
Yeah. With the manganese and mussels, I looked at a lot of supplier data on green liquid mussel powder. I have maybe 5 different supplier data, and the manganese in there is like less than 1/10 what the USDA says. And we want to ensure, if you're using our program, that you have enough manganese. So testing manganese in mussels is on our to test list, as well as the amount of zinc in oysters. And our to test list is many pages long, but we're getting there. Eventually, we'll test those mussels and find out whether I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, that's part of the research arm of what we have to do. And it's a process, but we're dedicated to doing it.
On the list that and testing, you can't just test once, you got to test like 3 or 4 or 5 times different mussels in order to figure it out. So it's expensive. Now I have to go. Yeah.
All right.
I have to go. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for
All right.
having
Thank
us.
you very much. So is there any other questions for Barbara or yes, please, Fiona?
I'm very glad to say my question was for Barbara, so they have not just lost the speakers that I was going to ask. Firstly, thank you so much for your talk, Barbara. I got a lot of tips from it, and I was only saying last night to some of the other delegates, I really felt as though there was a gap in having some tips to have these sorts of conversations. So I got lots of tips, and I particularly like the one where you say you spend a lot of time showering people with love. I think if we all take that tip, that's a lovely one. I will certainly try. So I guess my question relates to the lovely list that you made around, what else is at stake other than just the health of our pets. And I guess what can we gain by feeding appropriate food to our animals? And my thoughts are around, actually, is it bold to say mental health improvements for ourselves, and the fact that perhaps we should all get dogs just to improve full stop, but a little bit more than that, if we have unhealthy dogs, if our dogs are sick or itchy or their GI tract is upset, it's very stressful. So my thoughts are, actually the benefit is feeding your dog an appropriate diet and keeping them healthy improves mental health. Maybe we could get our doctors to prescribe raw food for our dogs to improve our health.
Well, there is something to that. I also think one of the things I hear a lot from my clients is how happy they are to feed their dog something they love. They had no idea. They're like, oh, we used to just leave the bowl out and the dog would never eat it. And we're always trying to feed and get him to eat it. And they're just like always worrying about the dog eating. Because you know how that is. Everybody loves to see an animal eat. It's really fun. I mean, even if you're out in the wild and you see a squirrel nibbling, I mean, it's adorable because we're like, oh, they're solving every problem they have, and they're feeding themselves. It's just a lovely, satisfying thing to see. And that's something, if you don't ever see it and you're finding you're constantly feeding something that really doesn't satisfy them, it's almost a form of torture to me, where you're just like, oh, I'm torturing my animal and they don't like the food. Like, they should love their food. Every species on the planet spends all of their time looking for food they love, and they get it and they love it. And then we're doing this. So I think mental health is a big one. I think it's just fun. It's fun to watch them eat it in 10 seconds. It's fun